Samupe, Sampadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Samupe, Jumpadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Oh, and you pampuma, Asam pampuma.
Hello, good evening, Era One Radio listeners and viewers all over the world. It's another Tuesday, and we are back to the Divine Connection Show, a program within the Era One Radio network. On behalf of my studio manager, Dr. Sertutu, and the team here, I want to bring you greetings wherever you are, whether you are on the East Coast, West Coast, North Coast, South Coast, or whatever part of the world, whatever time it is, I bring you greetings to that place. Well, for some time, I've been looking at a series concerning the ant, Proverbs 6, verse 6 to 8, where we were encouraged to go and study, learn from the ant to be wise and have a lot of wisdom. We will look at a few topics in the past. Tonight, we are looking at another topic. We are going to stay in our lane. And of course, Professor Redu is here to help us, backing up by Pastor Robert Akron. So we'll be his chairers even as he brings us this awesome teaching. And after that, if you have any questions, we can bring it to him. Well, it's the same Era One Radio. The number to call in is 240-280-2633, or you can text 510-9310946. Well, this weekend, the United States sprang forward 1 hour, so we lost an hour of sleep, and I think it's affected our broadcast tonight. We're supposed to be at 6 p.m., but unfortunately, we ran a bit late. So I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm going to hand over the reins to Professor Radio, unless Pastor Kron wants to give some preamble before he comes on board. All right. Prof, Nisaba, do you have anything to say before Prof?
No. Prof, fire away right away.
All right. Okay,
All right.
Prof.
So we thank God for this evening. He is good. He is kind. And today he has something special for us again from Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6, which says to go to the ant, O you sluggard, observe its ways and be wise. So let us look at what we can learn from the ant tonight and see its application. Ants maintain a constant speed, irrespective of the number of ants on the road. Is it not interesting? To put it in another way, even at rush hour, ants move in such a way their traffic is not, hindered at all. Science and technology is called Apuva Nagar, and he has studied ants with his colleagues, and it suggests that there are various reasons why there is no traffic jam, even when ant traffic flow increases. And he says ants don't have egos. They don't need to be first. They don't need to show off. And they don't take it personally when another ant cuts in front of them. Apuva says again that ants get more disciplined as the crowd thickens. They hold their speed steadier and even make fewer twists and turns. But you contrast this with human behavior. Human drivers cut in and out while braking and then also accelerating. So when we look at ant street discipline or ant road discipline, we realize that there is greater safety and consistency. And we see a road culture of greater predictability. There is another man called Alexander John, and he and his mates also investigated traffic flow along ant trails, and they studied the ant species called Leptogenes professionalis, and they realized that instead of overtaking, this species of ants organize themselves into subgroups, right? And in these subgroups, all of them travel at the same velocity. Isn't it interesting? You see, they travel at the same velocity. Thus, the average speed of the ant stays constant, even irrespective of the density of the traffic. So the ants are able to travel even bumper to bumper while maintaining their speed. And when the density of the ant increases, the subgroups simply join together into one main larger, group or a longer platoon. And the interesting thing is that because of their head distance, they remain, their speed remains the same, and the traffic is still maintained at the same speed, even while the density increases. Think about it. This ant behavior is not what we see on our highways today. On our highways, we see vehicles close together, having the inclination to slow down when the traffic density increases. And this slowing down eventually causes a lot of traffic jam. Now let's look at this. Ants exhibit several characteristics that can be linked to what I want to discuss this evening: worry and patience. Ants are disciplined, right? And there is order in their movements. Ants move in an organized manner, staying in their lanes and maintaining a steady pace. They don't overtake. They don't overtake. They stay in their lane and keep the pace. Again, they are patient and persistent. They do not rush blindly. They follow a structured process, demonstrating patience in achieving their goal of going to collect food and bringing food home. And we all know about their teamwork already, right? Ants rely on one another and work together efficiently. And this shows trust in the process. What about adaptability? When faced with obstacles, ants do not panic. They find themselves alternative routes or solutions, unlike we humans who worry, right? They don't worry at all. They are calm and their progress is steady. They move with purpose, but do not get frustrated by delays. But you just look at humans. We get very impatient and stressed up while waiting for something, some breakthroughs or certain great things to happen to us. And we are not getting them at the time we feel we need them. We get very frustrated. And ants don't have that kind of mindset at all. So, what can we learn from this? We have to stay in our lane. We shouldn't overtake, we shouldn't rush at all. There is the time to rush and the time that you don't have to rush. And wisdom is the ability to know when to rush and when not to rush, why to rush and why not to rush, how to rush and how not to rush, and where to rush and where not to rush. The ability to take this balance is wisdom. So why worry about worry? We don't have to worry about worry at all.
I promise not to ask questions, but you are putting tests in my throat.
Just be disciplined and hold on.
Okay. So traffic jams trigger anxiety. I don't like traffic jams at all. I feel ill when I stay in traffic for a long time. Right. But impatience is the mother of all worries, isn't it? I was reading something about the etymology of the word worry. It took me to a kind of old English word and Anglo-Saxon word, wirgan. Wyrgan, wirgan. What does it mean? It means to strangle or to choke, right? And to have the throat obstructed has to be in danger of suffocation, right? That is the word Bergan, from which we have worry today. The word simply means to kill by strangulation. But waiting patiently helps us to overcome worries, right? And it's quite difficult to wait patiently. It is said that this word Bergan I'm talking about was originally a hunting term describing what hunting dogs did to their prey when they caught it. And so the Oxford Dictionary has several meanings for this word from the 14th century to the 19th century. And these include to swallow greedily or to choke a person mouthful of food or to seize by the throat with the teeth. Today, the word has become simply worry, but it denotes a state of mind that consumes us with weariness, right? It's a mental state that persecutes and torments us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And when you worry, you do all these to yourself. You strangle yourself. You become your own prey. You
Unconsciously.
seize yourself by your own throat, ready to squeeze out the life in you. And this is what happens when you do not manage any period of anxiety, wisely. So when we worry, we literally strangle ourselves. Worry suffocates our ability to think right, and it creates an illusion, making us see things in a way which they actually not. Worry chokes our faith. Worry chokes our hope. Worry chokes our joy. And worry chokes our peace. Worry bites us at the throat. Worry torments us and torments our thoughts. And worry will always have a negative effect on our health. The traffic jam is not the place to cultivate ill health and kill yourself slowly. You stay there. Don't rush. There are traffic jams in life. You know what I'm talking about. Excessive worry can make you tired and stressed up. You've experienced it before. It can even accelerate your aging, right? The aging process and damage your immune system. It can even cause you to have peptic ulcer, right? You are a medical person, Dr. Boison, so you know better than I do. You see, it can even give you some skin diseases or skin reactions. You take all the creams and smear them, on your body. You want to get healed, and you are not getting healed because of the psychosomatic challenges that you'll be facing.
Yeah, I think it lowers your immunity too.
Yeah, it lowers your immunity. It's, chronic worrying, has driven many people to a very harmful lifestyle, a sort of highway ridden with overreacting, smoking, using alcohol, drugs, abusing others. It's all about worry, and it has destroyed many relationships. That is why we have to watch this monster very carefully. The wages of chronic worrying include suppression of the immune system, digestive disorder, muscle tension, and memory loss, right? Heart attack. I believe that worry can violently vandalize our face, right? So, so you can look at somebody's face and you know that there is some kind of generation of absolute ugliness due to worry. So,
Hey, serious.
so you see, worry is not just a noun, right? It's a destroyer, it's a murderer, it's a killer. That is why we have to overcome it. Let's overcome anxiety. Let us not worry when we are stuck in a jam, a traffic jam, or any kind of jam in life. Let us remember that that experience is just but for a moment. So, what is the therapy? The next time you find yourself in a traffic jam, simply smile. Open your mouth and say to yourself, quiet, Boison, quiet. Very soon you'll get out of it. Wait patiently, and you'll soon be out of here. Don't worry, Akron, don't worry.
Amen.
You see, Akron, you're almost out of this situation. Wait and be quiet. So you see, the Apostle Paul, wrote to the Christians in Philippi and said to them, be happy. The Lord is close to you. Don't worry, but just pray and thank God. And his peace, which beats all imagination, will garrison your hearts through Jesus Christ. That's my own translation. Ephesians 4:4-7.
Garrison.
So it is, garrison. So the soldier sitting there understands what we're talking about. The Greek word directly means to garrison. Right. So it is possible to walk this life without choking ourselves. Right. And the choice is ours. Worry is a choice. So avoid this worry lane and put worry to shame. The only thing you have to worry about in a vehicle traffic is worry. Worry about worry. Don't worry while waiting. Why weaken yourself before the blessing arrives? Keep it under control, and you save lives in addition to your own life. Hear Anand speak to you the words today. Slow down, no rush. Wait, Akron, wait. Stay in your lane and keep the pace, Boison. Go to the ant. Observe its traffic management principle, my beloved, and be wise. God bless you.
God bless you too. But Prof, you have said this thing. It almost sounds like you just said it so easily, and now I don't even know whether worry is a passive thing or it's an active thing. But from what you said, it looks as if worry is an active process. People have to struggle, strangulate. I mean, all that is an active process. But for all you know, it is not an easy process not to worry, because worry itself is what? Fretting over a situation, being anxious about something. And we worry and we are anxious because sometimes we don't have control over events. And so it puts us in the state of, okay, I can't handle it. And more also, I think it depends more on our temperament. Because what will be an anxious situation for me, you, Prof, you take a cocoa, you just drink cocoa and eat your masa and you are cool. I mean, like Jesus appeared to the disciples. He told them, go to the other side and put them in the boat, and he went to pray. He wasn't perturbed because he knew he had told them we are going to the other side, so he will get there. But the disciples, when they were being capsized and tossed on the waves, they had no control. At that point, you know that in there is no salvation for you. So if you have control over the event, then it's so easy to say, don't worry. I don't know how the ants do it, but now let me ask you. We are studying about the ants. Is there anything about the human race that the ants will also want to study from us?
The ants will have to study how we worry so much about, so that they can avoid it. Because one thing you can study from others is both their strengths and weaknesses, right? So you learn of their strength and you copy their strength. You learn of their weakness and try hard to avoid it. But you see, there is something interesting. It's very easy. I'm saying it just like music, right? I've been worrying big time because it's a natural thing. It's a human thing to worry.
Because you don't look like somebody who worries in life. So it's easy for you to say it.
Yeah, I worry all the time. But you see, God is advising us not to worry, because if you do so, then you are disobeying him. It is sin. And the wages of sin is sickness, death. So all the diseases I mentioned are wages of worrying, which is disobedience. But there is something interesting. So you ask your question, what is this issue? What is your problem? Can you solve it? Yes. If you can solve it, then why worry? Okay, what is your problem? What's the issue?
If you can't solve it.
Can you solve it? No, I can't solve it. If you cannot solve it, then why worry? So you see, if you can solve it, you don't need to worry. If you cannot solve it, you don't need to worry. It's quite complex, right? But then, if I don't say it so beautifully and sweet to you, how will you be encouraged?
All right, Pastor Akron, you can come in.
Yeah. I like the way Prof went about it. This is so to add a bit to it. And in my case, I'm going to look at the terms, the sluggard and the ant as symbols. They represent ideas or thoughts or concepts, right? So if you take the concept of the ant to represent, for example, high thinking or purposeful living or things like that, right? Or industry, for example, as Prof has alluded to in previous presentations, and then you take the sluggard to mean purposelessness or something like that. Then, if an ant happens to be exhibiting the traits of a sluggard, right? Then the ant and the sluggard, in this case, the sluggard representing other agents, humans, what have you, right? Then it is possible for an ant to be a sluggard and for a sluggard to be an ant. And therefore, it becomes possible and therefore necessary, if not mandatory, for one to learn from the other if we take it beyond just the physical representation now to the, call it the metaphorical, figurative, or what have you, right? And that's where, for me, I will see power emanating from the text. When I begin to look at the metaphors, the mental models they represent. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, Prof. Let's. Oh, were you going to say something before I come in? Go ahead if you want to.
And let me say something before you. Isn't it amazing you were talking about worry and Apostle Paul? I remember, I think, a text like Joshua chapter 3. Somewhere along the line, God, when they were about to cross the Jordan, the text makes us to understand that God instructed Joshua to ask the officers to command the host. And for the details of language will make us to understand that you are dealing with an army, officers, and then host. And then you ask yourself, what is the number one characteristics? The number one characteristic of an army, right? Discipline, strict adherence to whatever, chain of order, and things like that. But the interesting thing there is God asked them to keep a certain distance. And he said about 3,000 cubits, they shouldn't come close, which is to say God, and they said, when they saw the Ark of the Covenant being carried by the priests who were also Levites, then they should move. And whilst moving, they should keep that distance of roughly 0.6 of a mile between the ark and themselves, and they shouldn't come close, which is to say, it is the same thing. The pace will be determined by God, because you have to keep that same distance whilst you are moving. It means you don't determine the pace. You have to keep the pace, like you rightly said about the ants, right? No matter the situation, the pace must be kept.
Yeah. It's very interesting. There are parts in Europe where experts who have studied ants have applied it to this traffic control thing. So on some of the roads, especially the highways, the vehicles move at constant speed. If it is 80 kilometers per hour, then you must make sure you don't go beyond maybe 81, or you don't go less than 79. 79. You stay within,
Eventually.
79 and 81. Yeah.
81,
And
plus or
when it
minus.
happens that way, there is no traffic jam on the road. And this was studied by watching ants, according to research, right? So there are things we can look at practically and then apply to our lives, right? But then, we also travel in our lives day to day. Like life is a journey, and there are potholes on the road of life, and there are also, there can be jams, traffic jams in life, and so on. But then, if we have to apply this, metaphorically or whatever, in our lives, then we realize that it's all about making sure we don't rush. You don't rush at all. There is a time for rushing, and there is a time for slowing down. And that timing is something that we have to look at very carefully. I would suggest that if you have time, you watch something. You can go to YouTube and then watch this, short movie with the title "Run, Lola, Run," and it will teach you a lot of lessons about how you don't have to move ahead of time, or you have to move ahead of time, how you don't have to be too late, or you have to be too late, how you have to be on time or not to be on time. I mean, it tells you that God is the one you have to just put your steps, into whose hands you have to put your steps. Because there are things that, if you are too early, you can run into danger, or if you are too early, you can be safe. Or if you are too late, you can run into danger. Or if you are too late, you get safe. In 9/11, there are so many testimonies about people who ran late and were
Yeah,
saved. Right.
that's true.
Yes. So there are things like that. Run, Lola, run. Lola, Lola. Run, Lola, run. It's about 18 minutes and so on. It has a whole lot of lessons. So the advice is to make sure we stay in our lane. That is what we can learn from the ants. In life's journey, please, let's learn to stay in our lane. Sometimes not necessary to overtake. Ants normally wouldn't overtake. That is why you will not find, usually not find traffic jam on their way. They have to catch up quickly, go and bring food home. So God has given them that kind of wisdom of moving, as I described it. If there are two streets, they move, and when it becomes necessary for them to come together, they come together very quickly. I watched driver ants in Krane, after which Accra, the capital of Ghana, is named, and I realized they marched in just one lane or one trail. It got to a point where they split into about seven and moved in the different directions. Now, 3 days later, they came from those different directions and met at the same time at that same point, and then moved in one lane to wherever their destination was. I mean, it's so incredible. You can't understand how it all works. No wonder God
Wow.
says that He has hidden some jewel there. We should go and mine it and be wise.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
isn't it amazing? In parts of Georgia, in the US, we have speed limits, right? For most highway, they will tell you, don't go, the speed limit is, let's say, 65. Currently, it's around 65, Dr. Boison. In parts of Georgia, they have an upper limit and a lower limit. You can't drive below 55 miles per hour, and you can't drive above 75 miles per hour, which means if the police, the cops catch you driving at 50 miles per hour, you would think rather you are driving
modestly,
safely, right? No, you get a ticket.
Yeah.
because
And
oncoming vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
and you are driving above 70, you get a ticket. So
Yeah.
keep within. And it's interesting. I never, I when I went there several times, now I actually tend to get it now. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Why should I
Yeah.
drive below and shouldn't drive below a certain limit? And it's just to make sure traffic flows
Yes.
at a
Certain
certain.
pace. Yeah.
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 That's
So
thank you.
let's keep the pace. Yeah.
Let's keep the pace. I just want to chip in when it comes to the ants being on time, not worrying and getting to your destination without rush. I think what humanity can learn from is the fact that we have to learn to give ourselves time when we are traveling or going somewhere. I mean, some of us we enjoy the Ghana time. We came to the US and still Ghana time. And I know Pastor Crow has a very, very bad experience where he went to a funeral that was supposed to begin at this 7, 8, 9 thereabout, and people showed up 2 hours later. It's
2 hours.
Wait,
We are talking of 2 hours. New York.
wait, in the United States.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
In the US, don't talk about especially Nigerian, Ghanaian, Liberian funerals. If they put 7 p.m.
it's going to be
in
9.
fact, if what 9? If you get there around 12:30 a.m., you are too early.
And this must change. This must change because
Yeah,
the people that we came to sojourn with them, they are very, very conscious on time. Because if you give, let's say, a white person or a Caucasian or non-white a time, okay, the program starts at 7. They are going to be there before 7, and the rest of us will show up to us. So they think you guys are not serious, and so we have to change. If we want to
Yeah.
be in Rome, then we have to do what the Romans do. If you are going somewhere, give yourself. That is what I'm trying to do this year. That I don't want to be late, especially when I'm going to church. I feel so horrible when you go to church and worship is already in process. You're now walking in, and it's so disrespectful. I am trying so much to be on time, and especially when we're going to work, because the work pays us, or our boss is sitting there waiting, looking at the clock on your time. We always want to get there, but when it get to social programs or church programs, we just want to walk in and say, "Oh God, yeah, He understands." I'll leave it there. And then concerning the staying in lane, that is a huge major topic that we can go on and on. I can even liken the stay in your lane to our professions. When we were kids, I can give an example. I think I've shared it before. When I was in St. Augustine's College, Cape Coast, if you were not a science student, you were not part of the elite. They think, oh, you came to Diagro. And so Form 3, they make us do a special science and maths exam. You place well, they put you in science class, science 1 or science 2. The in-betweens go to the arts class. And then those days, they call them the Kwasha Bas. You don't know anything, they put you in business class. And I wonder, these guys who went to business classes, they are the one controlling the world. They were the one. Yeah, and we looked up. I remember I was carrying this Modimbo book and Nelson and Parker physics book,
Yeah.
even in Form 2, Form 3. I look so sharp.
And Nelcon and all
Yeah,
those.
look at Charles holding a science book, and the people we thought we were on top of the world. So our kids go to school and think, oh, everybody should be a science student, everybody should be a doctor and others. And so those who want to be, let's say, teachers or nurses, we look down upon them, and it affected us so much. Another example, I did science to O level, even to A level. On O level, I got maths. I'm not bragging, but I got maths 1, geography 1, economics 1. 1, 1, 1. And the science, my biology, I didn't do too well. So I went to fancy payment. The headmaster said, Charles, you got 1, 1. So I want you to do geog economics, land economy. My daddy said, for the way, I want him to do science. He has to be a doctor. My puppy yanked me from infancy, took me to laboratory so I can go do science. And I look over the years, I say, later I'm struggling in science. Why didn't I do the one that was so easy for me to do? So we have to stay in our lane. If you discover what you can do best in life, stay in that lane. Don't do comparison. Oh, this one is doing this. And later you realize that even those who did, here we have a historian, a literature person sitting in front of me, Reverend Akron. He's so smart. In those, I'm sure when he did history in Lagos, say, boy, I mean about history, but he knew what he was doing. And I look at him smiling at me. So we have to stay in our lane.
Confess, I didn't know what I was doing. I must confess, history came to me naturally, and I knew I was just not good in the sciences. I knew. So me, by Form 2, out.
So you knew your lane and you stayed in your lane.
Well, did I even know I had a lane?
You are laneless. You are laneless.
Yeah, so only I knew. But you see, it cuts across. If I had parents, especially my mother was an illiterate, so of course she never saw the inside of her classroom, but she took care of us. right? So she really was not in a position to tell me what to study. She didn't know. My father, on the other hand, was not available. He was educated. I believe if I had had that push, right, somebody to force me to study, I could have been anything. You getting me? So again, here a little, there a little, right? Uh, Maybe you need something to push you
That's true.
rather than do something that comes naturally, right? For me, that's the way I look at. But again, yeah, maybe that's the lane. I wasn't conscious about it, but God knew what He had put in me and made sure that all other things that would be distractions, He kept me away from them. So yeah, glory be to God.
But
Amen.
you realize that when you stay in your lane, things come so natural and easy for you. I mean, for instance, if you were supposed to, you knew you wanted to do music, music came easily to you. You could just play the instrument, the science and all those G clef and the D
You were
right.
not a copper in our
I
day.
mean,
You read music. Music for what? You were not a copper. You were not a copper.
but these are the
Prof
celebrities.
knows the term.
The
Prof,
celebrities.
Oh
I was
yeah,
a
yeah,
copper. The
yeah,
celebrities. I mean, music. I mean, see where music is taking them, and now we
yeah,
are
yeah, yeah,
paying
yeah,
tickets to go and watch them.
yeah, yeah,
And anyway,
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
well, tonight we've learned about the ants. I don't know. I'm sure the ants too will learn our ways, and so these human beings are predators, so we have to stay away from them. But sometimes when the ant sees us worrying so much, he said, "Ah, you guys." I mean, the other day I was combing my hair, and some of my hair was falling. I said, "Ah, gone are the days when I had afro. I looked so cute and nice. Look at me,
hey,
look at me now. The hair is gone, and I'm worrying, and I'm worrying. And Bible is saying that if you worry about your hair, I mean, can you do anything about it? You can't put one back or whatever. So why worry? Just move on. The things that you don't have control over, just relax. And what is going on in this country? People are losing their jobs left and right. What are they going to do? They're going to worry. But at the end
yeah,
of the day, say to yourself, you know what? If you have breath in your nostril, you're still in a better position. Life will continue. So let's
yeah,
move on. I mean, the worry will come. Things will cause us to stress and to worry. But then at the end of the day, we have to realize that we're not going to add any cubit of hair to our life or we can change the
amen.
situation. That
Yeah,
we just have to go to the one who has all the solution. Just go to God in prayer. That's what
yeah,
the songwriter says. All because we didn't bring them to the Lord in prayer.
yeah.
The things that you don't have control over, just let them go and enjoy what you can. Anyway, well, Prof, you have any words again to say?
You have said what I wanted to say.
But then, can I ask a question going back to the test, Prof? I mean, I think I asked this a while ago, but let me ask again because the way it's it's intriguing, if not interesting, the way the test is rendered. Go to the ant, you slug it, but consider her ways,
Hmm.
right? So the issue is the ways of the ant, not
Yeah,
the ant per se.
yeah,
Can an argument be made
yeah.
that
Just like we have discussed, the way is the path, the road,
mm,
the culture.
mhm,
So today we looked at it literally,
mhm,
how it travels,
mhm,
right? Staying
mhm,
in its lane. So
mhm,
that is one way by which you can look at the literal meaning, consider its ways, its
mhm,
paths, and be
mhm,
wise.
mhm,
But then the word path there, Derek, in the
mhm,
Hebrew, can
mhm.
also refer to, metaphorically, to culture, a
Okay.
lifestyle.
Mm,
So there will come, other examples that will include the lifestyle that we have
mm,
to consider.
mm,
So you're looking at either the way it lives, its behavior, or you are
mhm,
looking at the way it travels.
mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, but okay, the reason I'm asking is it the ant that is wise, or I mean, can we, for example, if wisdom was an attribute
Hmm.
that we can slap on a person or take away from a person or object, right? Would the ant be considered wise
Yeah.
in the absence of its ways, so that we can slap wisdom on the ant without considering its ways. Or because that leads me to understand that wisdom, therefore, is about action and not necessarily an attribute.
Okay, if we also think about wisdom as an attribute, then of the ant, then we are saying that it is by watching its behavior and its movements, its ways, that we will be able to identify the ant as identify the attributes of
Yes.
wisdom. So there is a way by which you can look at the ant itself and say it's wise by watching its ways.
Ways, yeah.
Or there is a way you can also look at the attribute and say, well, it's not about the ant itself being
Okay.
wise, but
Okay.
you, the person watching the ways, must gather some information and learn wisdom by watching the ways. So one can look at it from different perspectives. Because one can say, well, it's not the ant that is wise. We are not told that the ant is wise.
Okay.
We are saying when you observe its ways and you apply the ways, then you will be wise.
Okay.
So one would say it's more about the observer than the one being observed.
Okay.
Another would say it is both. Whichever way.
Let me come in a little bit with a question. So if I'm getting this right, I know wisdom is what? The application of knowledge.
Yeah.
So if wisdom is application of knowledge, then we are looking at the creature, the ant. Its ways comes from the wisdom that is in its brain to let us know the knowledge that is applying to be wise. So I don't think we can isolate the ant from the wisdom it has. Can we isolate the two?
But that's where the problem is, and it becomes an issue of whether expression or what have you, because think about it. If a person is wise, you pretty much, you could, okay, let me, Prof, I'm going to, a bit of a tangent, right? When even the definition of knowledge, which Dr. Boison rightly said, wisdom is, but it is the application of that knowledge, right? But then we also have to define what knowledge is. And what is it? Of course, in Greek, you say episteme, right?
Yeah.
But what is it? What will be the actual definition of knowledge for me to know this is knowledge? Or is it a fact and a knower of that fact that the combination will give you knowledge, and therefore the knower of the fact acting upon the recommendations or the mandates or dictates of the fact that would exhibit wisdom. If that is so, does the ant even know why it is behaving the way it is?
Yeah, well, that would be abstract. But I think that what you are saying is very important. Next Tuesday, God willing, we can discuss this issue because I'm bringing a topic which demonstrates how an ant can be stupid. And it can easily be deceived. So
Okay.
that in that sense, is it wise by
In
allowing
itself.
itself to be deceived?
Okay.
Right. So it means that the observer watches how it's easily deceived and learns wisdom from not being deceived, like the ant is deceived. So I think that maybe we can wait until next week.
Okay.
And then when we look at the other side, well, what I'm going to talk about, the blue butterfly in Australia, how it deceives the ants, then we can look at this discussion again.
Okay. And then the next, and I mean, again, I think how many minutes? We have about 30 minutes. The verse 7 says, the ant doesn't have a guide. It doesn't have an overseer. And it doesn't have a ruler. Yet, it provides its food in the summer and gathers it provides its meat in the summer and gather gathers its food, right, in the harvest. Is it wise not for a society not to have or not pay attention to leadership, not pay attention to organization, not pay attention to rules? Would you say that for the observer, for the sluggard, right? Because one would assume for the sluggard these are important, but
Yeah,
not for the
yeah,
ant.
yeah. Leadership is about having somebody or a group of people going ahead of others, right? And others following
Mm,
in a certain direction, right?
mhm, mhm.
Assuming that the one who is leading, who is ahead, knows the destination,
Yeah,
what benefits are there. So
yeah.
when you follow that person, you will not be deceived or
Mm,
disappointed. That's
mm,
about leadership.
mhm,
But I believe that what verse 7 is talking about there is, yes, you will need somebody to guide, to lead, because when you watch ants in their trail, one of them is ahead of all of them and the others follow. That is leadership.
mhm,
But what is also saying there is, in the absence of the one who is leading,
mhm.
they are also self-led. They can make decisions on their own,
Okay,
intelligent decisions,
okay,
right? So it means that any of them has the potential to lead the others because
okay,
they understand self-leadership.
okay.
They can lead themselves. In them is coded something, their DNA is coded the whole concept of, making decisions that are very intelligent and then following the decisions. For example, that we will look at one of the topics that has to do with ant cemetery
Mm,
and the fact that ants can be undertakers.
mm,
You see, they make their individual decisions when they find another ant that is dead. They don't wait to tell another ant, look, go pick that dead ant and take deposit at the cemetery. They go ahead and do it. So all of them are undertakers, in the sense
mm,
that when they even go around and see filth, anything that is called filth, they pick it up from there and go and place it where all filth belong. That is why they are clean, and their nest is always clean,
mm.
because they understand this pick and drop principle, which makes them identify where things belong, right? Something is called dirt. If you have a sheet of paper
Mm,
lying on your desk and the desk is clean, and that is the important desk on which you write,
mm,
anybody who finds that sheet with a pen on top of it will not see it as dirt. You leave it there. But
mm,
if the sheet is found on the floor,
mm,
then it's going to the regions where it can be considered filth or
mm,
dirt,
mm.
right?
Mm.
So when you put things where they belong, then that is also wisdom. So
Okay,
that aspect will be dealt with. That the
okay.
ant is wise because when it discovers things that don't belong where they are supposed to belong, it
Mm,
puts them there.
mm,
It
mm.
puts them where they belong,
And
and in that, by
is
so doing,
is it because the ant has that concept, or it is just a mechanical thing with the ant
well,
rather
that is
than
a
yeah.
very interesting question. A very, very interesting question. You see, but then it can be a character in them. I'm here to, explore that so that I don't goof. I want to explore
Okay,
that. But the
okay.
whole idea that they can identify things that don't belong to, where they find them and pick them up and put them where they belong is very interesting, because that is the principle that helps them keep the environment from pollution, right? From,
Okay,
from being littered
okay.
around. They are always clean. So when you
Okay.
look at the opening where their door is, and sometimes you see some particles there, objects, broken legs of other ants and cockroach legs and all those, then you know that they have put them there because they feel that is where they belong.
Mm, mm.
So they take the filth from their nest and keep them outside and put them where they belong. Our
Okay.
problem is, our problem about environmental pollution is that we lack that kind of wisdom
Mm,
of ensuring that we have to put filth where filth belongs, and we have to
mm.
keep clean things where they belong.
Okay. Okay. I mean, going back to the text,
Okay.
Solomon seems to be implying something, right? Because for the sluggard, considering the ways of the ant is a learning process, right?
Yeah.
But does the ant learn new things?
I think what Solomon was actually talking about um, is just what the observer must do. He was focusing more on the observer
Okay.
than the actor,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it's very difficult to tell whether the ant knows it or not. That is one of the reasons I feel you and I must get to heaven and then ask Jesus some of these kind of incredible questions, because they are very difficult to answer. And you see, when we get there, remind me that once upon a time in March 2025, you asked me this question, I couldn't answer. And you promised that we'll meet there in eternity and we'll have all these questions answered.
I like that.
God bless you.
Thank
It's
you.
quite difficult, yeah.
I mean, again, when you are dealing with interesting tests like this, right? Again, I'm asking these questions in light of the objective. One of the objectives of this platform, we
Yeah.
want to educate, right? Not
Okay.
just discussing Bible. We want to educate. We want people to learn ways of thinking,
Yeah.
sharpening the reasoning capacity of people, especially Christians, to
Yeah.
appreciate the Bible for what it is.
Yeah.
And one way to cultivate that critical thinking is to force people to look at things that they normally would not look at,
Yeah.
right? I mean, yes, so I mean, Solomon has put the sluggard should observe should go to the ant and consider the ways of the ant. Not necessarily consider the ant, but consider the ways of the ant. And for me, that's where the I see potential, right? And
Yeah.
then the Dr. Boison's question, is there an inverse instruction for the ant also to observe the sluggard in order not to fall into the trap or the habit of the sluggard?
Yeah.
Though it is not stated, but for us as humans, that is something we have to look at.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it is wisdom, acquisition of wisdom that Solomon is hinting at, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the acquisition or that wisdom and its acquisition could actually happen on both sides. Because the wise man has to become wiser, and the foolish man has to move from foolishness to wisdom. I mean, to being
Yeah.
wise,
Yeah.
right? So how does the wise man? Because in my language, you and I, our language in Ghana, we have a saying:
Yeah.
"Buluade ni kaseloy, nileloy kasio nile kedio."
Does the bulu is the bulu derived from the word bull?
I don't know.
The behavior of the bull. You
I
observe
haven't
the
thought
behavior
about
of the bull, and
I haven't
okay.
thought about it. See, but it's simply that the wise man learns wisdom from the foolish man. That's the guy, which is very interestingly true,
Yeah.
right? So whereas the text here will say the foolish man should learn wisdom from the wise man, our saying also actually requires the wise man to learn wisdom by looking and learning from the mistakes of the foolish man, right? Which, therefore, in an academic set, in an intellectual environment, is like look at both sides of the coin because before you choose a stand or you make a stand or you choose a position or whatever. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. God bless you.
I think we've eaten our time up. So, Prof, you have the next 3 minutes. Exhaust it with your very characteristic wisdom.
Yeah.
And then,
So we have the whole day. We keep our mind to what we have looked at again. Slow down, no rush. Wait, stay in your lane. Keep the pace. Slow down, no rush. Wait, stay in your lane. Keep the pace. So if we are able to slow down and we don't rush, we will not be anxious, right? And anxiety is not necessary because sometimes whatever you're expecting is something you eventually get anyway. But by the time you get it, you would have incurred a lot of scars as a result of some kind of injuries on the way, mental injuries, emotional injuries, it's sometimes physical injuries, right? And it's spiritual injuries as well, where sometimes you begin to feel disappointed in God because of the delays. It's spiritual injury. You hurt your soul. So we have to follow what Scripture tells us. We have to observe this lifestyle of the ant and the way it travels life, its life, it walks its life, and then learn some wisdom from there. The fact that it won't overtake, it will stay in its lane, and it will move at a constant speed. You see, life is about following people, and people following us. Whatever be the case, there will be somebody ahead of you,
yeah.
and you'll be ahead of somebody, right? But then we ask ourselves, God, what is the pace at which I must move? We don't have to be too much ahead of God. Let me summarize it this way. I summarize the whole book of Jonah this way, 4 chapters. In the first chapter, we see
I think internet issue in Ghana. Prof, let's give him some few minutes to come back. And then we'll call it a night. Okay. Thank you. We lost Prof. So goodbye. Hopefully next week, the same time, we'll meet here. And until then, God bless you. Stay blessed.